This is part 3 of the Lesson 6.3 tutorial on domain and range. In the first two videos, we looked at what domain and range are and how we write them. In this video, we'll look at the word problem example and the key ideas of the lesson. For the word problem example, take a moment now to pause the video and read the question carefully. Part A is asking us to find the values of points A, B, C, and D on the graph and what they represent. So, if we find point A is the maximum or highest point on the graph, so it must represent the highest point on the ride, which is a value of 208 meters. Point B on the graph is the y-intercept, which is the lowest point on the graph and represents where the location where the rider boards the Ferris wheel. Since the diameter of the wheel is 193 meters, this point is 193 meters below point A. So to find the y-intercept, you would go 208 minus 193, which equals 15 meters. Point C on the graph is the origin and just represents the ground level on the vertical axis and the starting time on the horizontal axis. The D value is the end of the graph, which is representing the time it takes to complete one revolution. Therefore, its value is 20 minutes. For part B, what are the domain and the range of the graphs? We can look at this in several ways. In words, the domain is all of the time that the rider is on the wheel, so from 0 minutes to 20 minutes inclusive. For the range is the height of the rider above the ground for the duration of the ride. So the range goes from 15 meters to 208 meters at the highest point. In set notation, your domain looks like this. Our variable is t for time, such that the lowest time is 0 and the highest time is 20 minutes, so our time is everything in between, where we have t as an element of the real numbers. In interval notation, we have a square bracket, 0, 20, square bracket. For the range, it looks like this. Our range is the h values, where 15 is the lowest height and 208 is the highest height, and every height in between is the height of the rider, with h being an element of the real numbers. If we write that in interval notation, we have a square bracket, lowest number is 15, highest number is 208, close it with a square bracket, and that represents the range of the ride. The following is a summary of the key ideas from the lesson 6.3. In this lesson, we learned that the domain is all of the possible values of x for a function. So, what are all the x values included on the graph of the function? The range is all the possible y values for a function, or all the y values on the graph of the function. Domain and range can be represented in a variety of ways. We can write it in words, in set notation, which is the formal mathematical way, in interval notation, using round and square brackets, we're using number lines, using open and closed circles, and in lists for discrete data.